Wellness Rhythm Show. Find your rhythm. Live your wellness.
Here's a question for you. When was the last time you went down a flight of stairs and thought, that's actually the harder part of my workout?
Right, and most of us would say never. Going up is the effort. Going down is just arriving somewhere lower.
But apparently we've been getting this completely backwards. And the science behind why is genuinely fascinating.
It really is. There is a specific type of muscle and tendon loading that happens when you resist gravity on the way down, and researchers are calling it one of the most underutilized tools we have for protecting aging joints and connective tissue.
Y'all, we are talking about eccentric loading today, and I promise by the end of this episode, you will never walk downstairs the same way again.
So let's define this properly. Eccentric loading refers to the phase of movement where your muscle is under tension while it is lengthening, not shortening, lengthening.
Okay, so when I'm lowering myself into a squat, that's eccentric. But when I'm pushing back up, that's concentric?
Exactly right. And here's what's striking. The eccentric phase generates significantly more force through the tendon than the concentric phase does.
So the lowering is actually doing more work than the lifting. My whole understanding of exercise just shifted.
And this matters enormously for tendons specifically. Tendons are these dense, collagen-rich structures that connect muscle to bone. They have notoriously poor blood supply compared to muscle tissue.
Which means they heal slowly. I've had a friend deal with Achilles issues for what felt like forever.
That is a perfect example. Achilles tendinopathy is actually one of the most studied conditions in this area. A physiotherapist named Håkan Alfredsson essentially transformed tendon rehabilitation in 1998 with what became known as the Alfredsson Protocol.
What did he do?
He had patients with chronic Achilles tendinopathy perform heavy, slow, eccentric heel drops off a step, twice daily, for 12 weeks. The results were remarkable: significant pain reduction and return to activity in the majority of participants.
So he was essentially loading the injured structure rather than resting it, which feels counterintuitive.
Completely counterintuitive, and that's why it took so long to catch on clinically. The assumption had always been damaged tendon, reduce load, but the research flipped that.
Here's the thing though. Tendons need load to remodel. They need mechanical stress to stimulate collagen synthesis, right?
Right, exactly. Tendons respond to load signals by reorganizing collagen fibers. Without appropriate loading, they actually become more disorganized and weaker over time. The Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy has published extensively on this.
So the passive rest approach was actually making things worse in many cases.
In chronic tendinopathy cases, yes, the evidence suggests passive rest alone is often insufficient. The tendon needs progressive mechanical input.
And this applies beyond the Achilles? Because I'm thinking about my knees going down hills on walks.
Patellar tendon, hip abductors, even rotator cuff tendons in the shoulder. The eccentric principle extends across the body's major tendon systems.
Y'all, if you're nodding along right now, please do us a favor and hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need exactly this kind of information. Okay, David, let's talk about why this is especially relevant for our audience.
Yes, this is where it gets important for anyone in their 40s, 50s or beyond. Tendons undergo measurable compositional changes with age. Collagen cross-linking increases, water content decreases, and the tissue becomes less elastic.
So stiffer, more brittle.
More brittle and more vulnerable to what researchers call tendinopathy, which is degenerative change rather than acute injury. And the insidious thing is that it often develops silently. You don't feel it until it becomes a real problem.
This is exactly what happened to a colleague of mine. She started having knee pain out of nowhere, hadn't changed anything in her routine.
Which is the classic presentation. The load had been accumulating over years and the tendon crossed a threshold.
But here is where I want to push back a little, David, because you're making eccentric loading sound almost like a cure-all. And I've been around the wellness conversation long enough to be skeptical of anything that gets presented as the answer.
And that's a fair challenge, and I want to be precise here. Eccentric loading is well supported for tendinopathy management and prevention in people who are appropriate candidates. It is not a substitute for working with a physiotherapist when you have an actual injury, and it is not without risk if progressed too fast.
So the nuance is, it's a genuinely powerful tool, but context matters enormously.
Exactly. The research by Jill Cook at La Trobe University, who is one of the leading voices in tendon science, emphasizes that tendon loading needs to be matched to the individual's current tolerance. Too much too fast is how you provoke a reactive tendon.
Which means starting slow and building, not jumping into heavy eccentric squats on day one.
Correct. The principle is progressive overload applied eccentrically. The tendon adapts remarkably well when load is managed intelligently.
Okay, so let's get genuinely practical here. What does incorporating eccentric loading actually look like for someone listening right now? Maybe someone who is not in a gym, maybe managing some knee discomfort?
The most accessible starting point is the wall site with a slow lowering component. Stand with your back against a wall, slide down over 4 to 6 seconds, hold briefly, then use a chair or your hands to assist on the way back up. The down phase is the work.
So you're removing the concentric demand to focus entirely on the eccentric. That's actually quite brilliant for someone with knee pain who can't push back up comfortably.
Precisely. Another extremely accessible option is the stair heel drop. Stand on the edge of a stair, rise on both feet, then lower on one foot over 3 to 4 seconds. Start with body weight only,
I want to do this on my front steps tomorrow morning.
which is a completely appropriate way to start. The key variables are tempo, slow is the point, and progressive load over weeks, not days.
And this connects to something we talked about in a previous episode around strength training as biological preparation. Because tendons don't get the attention muscles get, but they are load-bearing structures that need exactly the same long-term investment.
Well said, muscle hypertrophy gets all the attention. But the tendon adaptation that supports that muscle is what actually keeps you functional in your 60s and 70s.
I think about this in terms of the sandwich generation listening right now. You're managing your own body and potentially watching an aging parent start to struggle with things like stairs and hills and getting out of chairs.
And those functional movements, lowering into a chair, descending stairs, stepping down from a curb, are almost entirely eccentric in their demand. The body is resisting gravity on the way down.
So training eccentrically is literally training for daily life in a way that purely concentric work doesn't address.
That framing is actually quite elegant, and it aligns with what researchers like Stuart McGill and Keith Barr have discussed around connective tissue loading as a longevity investment rather than just an athletic performance tool.
Here's the thing, though. I disclosed in a previous episode that I've abandoned strength training routines approximately 4 times. And I think part of why is that I never had a specific enough target. I was just going to the gym to generally exercise.
Which is remarkably common. Having a specific physiological rationale, I'm eccentrically loading this tendon to protect this joint, changes the psychological commitment.
It gives it meaning. It's not just exercise. It's maintenance on the machinery I'm going to need for the next 40 years.
I would put it even more directly. Tendons that are never systematically loaded eccentrically in midlife become the tendons that make stairs a problem at 70.
Okay, that sentence is going on my refrigerator.
I'll take that as a win.
All right, so if you are walking away from today's episode with one thing, let it be this. The lowering phase of any movement is doing something your body genuinely needs. Slow it down intentionally, whether that's stairs, squats, or a simple heel drop on your front step.
And for the researchers in the room, look up Jill Cook's work on tendon load management and the Alfredson protocol for Achilles rehabilitation. The evidence base here is solid and genuinely worth understanding.
Y'all, tendons are not glamorous. Nobody is making a podcast about collagen cross-linking at a party. But protecting your connective tissue now is one of the most quietly important things you can do for your future self.
Agreed, and the barrier to entry is a staircase, which most of us have.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. If this episode was useful, please share it, especially with someone in their 40s or 50s who is starting to notice their joints talking back. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe wherever you listen. We'll see you next time on the Wellness Rhythm Show.
Take the stairs slowly.
This show is part of the VoxCrea.ai system. If you want a show like this for your organization, without building it yourself,
Go to voxcrea.ai and request a sample episode.